You know, it's this very specific modern ritual we all have. You wake up, you roll over, and you just grab your phone off the nightstand.
Yeah, before you even open your eyes all the way.
Right. And the screen lights up, and right there in the center of your notifications is that sleek little banner, software update available.
And you just tap it. I mean, it's practically a reflex at this point. You definitely don't read the terms and
No,
conditions.
never. No one does. You just hit install now,
Yeah.
and then you go make your morning coffee, and by the time you pour your first cup, like 3 minutes later, all the bugs in the system are magically fixed.
The battery life is supposedly better. The interface is smoother.
Exactly. We are, as a species, completely obsessed with upgrading our technology. I mean, we demand it. Hardware, software, processors, all of it.
We expect exponential improvement year over year.
We really do.
Yeah.
But then, and here's the catch, you open one of those sleekly updated apps, you open your news feed or a social media platform, and you just look at us. You look at humanity.
Yeah, that's where the pristine technology meets reality.
Right. You look at how we talk to each other online, how we handle geopolitical conflict, or even just how we navigate basic differences in the comment section.
And it becomes just glaringly obvious that while the device in your hand is running on the state-of-the-art operating system, the human beings using it are running on something totally primitive.
Yes. It feels like our collective, emotional operating system hasn't had a patch in thousands of years.
It's crashing.
It is crashing left and right. There is a fatal error in the code. And that exact friction, that massive gap between our shiny tools and our fractured humanity, that is exactly what we are diving into today.
And it is a fascinating one today.
Welcome to the deep dive. We are so incredibly glad you're here with us because we have a mission today that is genuinely unlike anything we've tackled before.
It really is a profound piece of source material. It tackles this exact paradox we're talking about.
Yeah, so our mission today is exploring a highly detailed blueprint from July 2026. It's called the Humanity 2.0 Brand Book, version 1.0.
Which, just the title alone is interesting.
Right, because when you hear the phrase brand book, you probably think of a corporate manual for a new Silicon Valley startup.
Or the visual guidelines for a global fast food chain. Fonts, logo placement, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But this document, this is a step-by-step, meticulously crafted corporate manual for a global cultural and spiritual movement.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core premise laid out here is exactly what we were just talking about. Humanity has seen these massive technological upgrades, but the human heart has been completely left behind.
Right.
And this brand book is literally positioned and engineered as the blueprint for that heart upgrade.
What's really fascinating here is the medium they've chosen to deliver this message. I mean, we are talking about the most universal, ancient spiritual themes imaginable.
Like compassion, peace.
Compassion, truth, human dignity, things philosophers and prophets have debated for millennia. But instead of a philosophical treatise or a religious text, they're being packaged and deployed using the strict, ruthless architecture of modern corporate branding.
It's wild.
We are talking about exact hex codes for colors, highly specific typographic rules, meticulously segmented target audiences. It is the calculated precision of an Apple product launch, but, it's being applied to the human soul.
Which is such a wild juxtaposition. And for you listening, I just want you to think about your own daily routine. Think about the last time you opened your phone and just felt a wave of exhaustion.
Oh, that daily fatigue.
Right. How often do you feel utterly drained by the endless division, the tribalism, the constant performative outrage? Today's deep dive is going to explore how this specific document attempts to solve that very modern fatigue.
And how it tries to literally engineer a way out of it through behavioral design, which is super interesting.
Let's dig right into that central philosophy. They call it the human update. And the central tension is explicitly stated right at the beginning. It says, the human race advanced in technology, but the human heart stayed behind.
That's the core thesis.
Yeah. When your phone's operating system has unresolved bugs, the whole system crashes. Doesn't matter how good the camera is. If the OS is flawed, the apps freeze.
Right. The hardware doesn't matter if the software is broken.
Exactly. And the document argues that right now, human society is crashing because we're running outdated emotional software on highly advanced technological hardware.
We have the internet connecting billions of people instantly, but we're using it with the tribal instincts of ancient hunter-gatherers.
That is the exact friction. And to address it, they present this primary vision statement. It's written in Hebrew first, and they provide the official English translation right alongside it. Underneath, we are all the same.
Now, stop right there, because at first glance, that sounds like a classic, almost cliché utopian bumper sticker, right?
Yeah, underneath, we are all the same. It sounds like John Lennon's Imagine.
Exactly. Sounds like every well-intentioned, slightly naive peace movement from the 1960s.
Yeah.
Let's all just hold hands and forget our borders.
Totally. But reading through the document, the Brand book is incredibly careful to pivot sharply away from that trap.
It explicitly rejects that trap. If we connect this to the bigger picture, historical utopian movements almost always try to achieve unity through homogenization.
Right, they try to blend everyone together.
They say to have peace, we must erase what makes us different. No religion, no nationality, no borders. But what this Humanity 2.0 manifesto states, verbatim, is that the brand does not seek to cancel religion. It does not cancel nationality, culture, or personal identity.
It's not asking you to stop being who you are. The official brand promise at the end of the document hammers this home perfectly. It says, we don't ask people to be the same. We remind them to be human.
That distinction is crucial.
I love that distinction, but I have to ask, how does that actually work in practice? I mean, how do you say we are all the same while simultaneously saying, keep your completely differing, sometimes conflicting identities?
By changing the interface, not the underlying data.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
We often fall into this binary trap, where we think peace requires us to pretend we don't have deep fundamental differences. But human beings are profoundly attached to their identities, their faith, their flags, their cultures. These provide meaning.
Right, and if you attack that, people get defensive.
Exactly. If a movement asks people to abandon those things, it faces immediate hostile resistance. It feels like an erasure. This document bypasses that entirely. It is saying, keep your identity, keep your deep-seated beliefs, keep your flag, but we need to upgrade how you carry those differences into the public square.
So it's basically saying, be exactly who you are, but do it with less fear, less venom, and more respect.
It isn't trying to blend humanity into one gray, featureless blob. It's trying to upgrade the communication protocol between the different parts. It's about harmonization, not homogenization.
Harmonization. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, you don't make an orchestra sound beautiful by making every instrument a violin. You just make them play in the same key.
That is a brilliant analogy, which brings us to the actual structure of how they plan to pull off this harmonization. Because, a nice philosophy is just words on a page without a vehicle to deliver it.
Absolutely.
And reading through the brand architecture table in this document, I was genuinely taken aback. It is highly modular. It is built exactly like a multinational corporate conglomerate.
It outlines a strict four-layer architecture.
Okay.
And each layer has a distinct function, a distinct audience, and a distinct public use case.
Let's walk through these layers, because I have some serious questions about this setup. Layer 1 is the founder. The document identifies the founder and author as a man named NathanOr.
Nice.
His role is to provide the vision, the creation, the leadership, and the personal origin story. Fine. Then layer 2 is something called Baba Shufa.
Which is the spiritual philosophical source.
Yeah, the document describes its role as repentance, unity, truth, peace, and the connection to God. Okay, so we're getting deeper. Then you have layer 3, which is Humanity 2.0 itself.
The front-facing brand.
Exactly. The universal brand at the front, the cultural movement, the media, the community action. And finally, layer 4 is Messiah Ben David Records, which serves as the musical production arm, handling credits, distribution, publishing.
It is a deeply segmented, heavily organized approach to movement building.
And this is where I'm going to push back, because reading this, I felt a massive disconnect. Why so many corporate layers? Doesn't this completely overcomplicate things?
It seems like it would, yeah.
Right. If your core message is a simple, beautiful, universal truth about human dignity, why on earth do you need a 4-tiered corporate architecture? You've got a separate philosophical source, a front-facing media brand, and literally an independent record label.
It can look a bit cynical at first glance.
It does. Does this not start to feel like a cash grab or like a Disney corporate structure rather than a spiritual awakening?
That is a very fair skepticism, and it's a common reaction when we see spiritual ideas mixed with corporate mechanics. But if you look at the actual mechanics of how to scale a movement globally in the 21st century, this structure is not a cash grab. It's a brilliant solution to a massive bottleneck.
What do you mean by bottleneck?
Think about a traditional religious or spiritual movement. Usually, to participate in the community, you have to adopt the entire theology right at the front door.
Right, you have to agree with everything.
Exactly. You have to believe everything they believe to be part of the club. By creating Humanity 2.0 as Layer 3, the accessible, secular-friendly brand, it creates a massive, wide-open doorway for everyone.
Oh, I see.
You can engage with the universal message of human dignity, you can wear the merchandise, you can share the TikTok videos, without ever once having to adopt the specific spiritual theology of Layer 2, Baba Shuva.
Okay, so it's protecting the user from feeling overwhelmed or like they're being converted.
Yes. However, human nature dictates that if a movement gains traction, a percentage of followers will want to go deeper. They'll ask, what is the philosophical root of this worldview? Where does this come from?
And that's where layer 2 comes in.
Exactly. If they want
Yeah.
that, Baba Shuva is sitting right there to provide that rich theological depth. The architecture intentionally separates the universal application from the spiritual root. This allows the movement to scale across different cultures and entirely different belief systems without alienating a secular person on day one.
Okay, you're winning me over. I was looking at it like a corporate shell game, but it's more like a filtration system. Humanity 2.0 is the street-level storefront that everyone can walk into, regardless of their background. They can grab a coffee, look at the art, and leave feeling better.
Right.
But Baba Shuvi is the library in the back room. If you want to sit down and read the ancient texts and understand the deep spiritual roots holding the building up, you can, but no one is forcing you into the back room.
Precisely. And this strategy of protection and segmentation extends to how they handle the founder himself within this architecture.
Oh, the founder rule. This part of the brand book was fascinating to me. It has this highly specific, almost rigid rule about how the founder's name is used.
Right, the spelling alone.
Yeah, it dictates that it must always be running as Nathan Benzvi, with NathanOr combined into a single camel case word. But crucially, it states that the primary Humanity 2.0 logo does not need his name attached to it.
It's kept completely separate.
Right. His signature or lockup acts as a completely separate element. It's used for his personal posts, origin stories, or specific targeted launches, but it is explicitly not plastered on the primary brand material. Why hide the founder?
Well, they are hiding him. They are compartmentalizing him. This is a vital defense mechanism against one of the most common pitfalls in human history.
Cult of personality.
Exactly. Movements that are entirely centered on the face and personality of a single charismatic founder are incredibly fragile. If the founder makes a mistake, if they face intense public scrutiny, or if they simply pass away, the movement collapses because the brand was the person.
That happens all the time.
By making Humanity 2.0 the primary visual and keeping NathanOr Benzvi as a secondary distinct layer, they are signaling structurally that the movement is about the collective us. It is designed from day one to outlive or transcend just one person's personality.
It's future-proofing the movement against the flaws of its own creator. That is incredibly self-aware for a founder to write into their own brand book.
It really is.
But here's where it gets really interesting. You can have the most brilliant architecture in the world. You can have the coolest logos, the smartest philosophy, the best corporate defense mechanisms, but big ideas are completely useless without daily behaviors.
They just stay as abstract theories.
Exactly. If a philosophy doesn't change how you act on a random Tuesday morning when someone cuts you off in traffic or, insults you online, what is the point of it?
There is no point. And the brand book is hyper aware of this. It doesn't just want to be an abstract philosophy. It wants to be an operating system.
Yeah.
To achieve that, it provides a 5-step humanity code to translate the high-level idea into ground-level action.
Yeah, the document explicitly states that this code turns the big idea into daily behavior. It mandates that every single campaign, every song released by the record label, every video must illustrate at least one of these 5 principles. It is non-negotiable.
Let's examine these 5 rules because they are the actual software patch the brand is trying to install in the human mind.
Let's do it. And for you listening, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the theory becomes deeply personal. So rule 01 of the Humanity Code is person before label.
A huge one.
Yeah. The behavioral instruction attached to this is to actively ask who the person is and what their unique story is before defining them by a group, a political party, or a demographic.
This first rule is a direct, targeted attack on our natural cognitive biases. Our brains are biologically wired to categorize. It takes a tremendous amount of caloric and mental energy to assess every single human being as a complex, nuanced individual.
We just don't have the time or energy for it.
Right. So our brains take shortcuts. We categorize people into tribes, political, religious, national, social, because it saves energy. We see a label, we apply our preconceived stereotype of that label, and we move on. Rule 01 forces a hard pause. It demands a deliberate cognitive override. It forces you to encounter the individual before you apply the template of their group.
Which is so hard to do. I mean, when you see a profile online that has a specific flag or a specific political slogan in the bio, your brain instantly downloads a massive file of assumptions about that person.
It's instantaneous.
And Rule 01 is saying, do not open that file.
Exactly. And it flows perfectly into Rule 02, respect before victory.
Man, this one hit me hard. The instruction here is to maintain human dignity even in a fierce argument. For you listening, I want you to really imagine trying to apply this today. Imagine you are in a heated internet comment section, or maybe at an incredibly tense family dinner over the holidays.
We've all been there.
Right. Our current cultural operating system, especially online, dictates that the goal is to destroy your opponent at all costs. You want the viral takedown. You want to post the screenshot of how you owned them. Rule 02 completely inverts that incentive structure. It says that winning the argument is entirely secondary to keeping the other person's dignity intact.
It redefines the metric for success and failure. In the Humanity 2.0 framework, if you win the debate, if your logic is flawless and you prove your point, but in the process you humiliate, degrade, or mock the other person, you have failed the code.
Your victory is invalid.
Yes, your victory is invalid because you destroyed the human connection to get there.
That is a staggering level of discipline to ask of people on the internet. And it continues with Rule 03, truth without hate. The mandate here is to speak the truth bravely, but without humiliation, demonization, or a desire for revenge.
This is a crucial balancing act. Often when people hear respect before victory, they assume it means they have to become passive.
Like they just have to be a doormat.
Right. They think they have to water down their convictions or stay silent when they see something wrong, just to keep the peace. Rule 03 says absolutely not. You must speak the truth. You must be brave. But you have to strip the malice, the venom, and the desire to inflict pain out of your delivery.
Yeah.
It is about radical candor delivered with genuine care.
You can disagree forcefully, but you can't demonize. Got it. Then we have Rule 04, which applies this framework directly to spirituality. Faith without coercion.
This one is very specific.
Yeah, the behavior is offering a spiritual path through testimony and personal example, not through force, pressure, or societal mandate.
It relies entirely on attraction rather than promotion. It's the belief that if your spiritual path is truly bringing you peace and elevating your humanity, others will see it and ask about it. You don't need to force it on them.
And finally, we arrive at Rule 05, which honestly might be the heaviest of them all. Peace with responsibility. The behavior detailed here is seeking reconciliation that does not ignore injustice, does not erase boundaries, and requires accountability.
This raises an incredibly important question, and it is arguably the most complex and necessary rule in the entire code.
Why is that?
Well, how do we balance a genuine desire for peace with the absolute necessity for accountability? Because history is full of people demanding peace as a way to silence victims and avoid facing the consequences of their actions.
Right. It can become toxic positivity. The whole let's just forgive and forget and move on mentality, which usually only benefits the person who did the wrong.
Exactly. But the document is hyper aware of this danger. In its voice and language section, which we'll get to in a minute, it explicitly warns against the brand sounding too sweet or naive. Rule 05 is the anchor against that naivety.
It keeps it grounded in reality.
Yes, it demands a hope that is grounded in reality. It acknowledges pain. It is not asking victims of injustice to simply forgive and forget in the name of a shallow, aesthetic peace. It is boldly stating that true, lasting reconciliation requires addressing the wrong, maintaining healthy boundaries, and ensuring the responsible party takes accountability.
Is the difference between putting a Band-Aid over an infected wound versus doing the painful, necessary surgery to clean it out so it can actually heal.
That's a great way to look at it.
And to support these 5 behavioral roles, the document lists 5 core values that act as the foundation: human dignity, unity through difference, truth, compassion, and future responsibility.
So let's take stock.
We have the core philosophy. We have the corporate architecture to protect it. We have the behavioral code to enact it. But a massive question remains for me. That level of accountability, that level of discipline, putting respect before victory in 2026, that is heavy.
That's a lot to ask of people.
Right. It makes me wonder who is actually ready to hear this. If you demand peace with responsibility, you can't just pitch that into the void of internet trolls and expect a positive return on investment. Who exactly is the brand targeting as their early adopters?
The brand book answers that meticulously in segment 4, which breaks down the positioning, the voice, and finding the audience. They do not just blast this message indiscriminately.
They have a plan?
They segment their target audience into 3 distinct strategic rings.
Right.
The core, the partners, and the bridge.
Let's look at how they define these rings. The core ring consists of active online youth and adults, digital creators, and spiritual seekers. These are the early adopters, right? The vanguard. The document states that what this specific group needs is a language of meaning, hope, and unity that does not blur their identity.
This reflects the cultural exhaustion we discussed earlier. The core audience is desperate for a way out of the culture wars, but they refuse to surrender their individuality to get there.
Makes sense.
Then you have the second ring, the partners ring. This includes educators, therapists, artists, podcasters, and community leaders. This is perhaps their most vital strategic choice.
Because these people are the nodes in the network, right? They are the amplifiers. If you get a therapist or a teacher to adopt this framework, they pass it on to hundreds of other people.
Exactly. But look at what the document says these partners need. It does not say they need to be inspired. It says they need tools. They need practical tools for storytelling, for education, for facilitating difficult conversations, and for community building. The brand is positioning Humanity 2.0 as a literal utility. It is a toolkit for professionals who are on the front lines of human interaction every single day and are desperate for a reliable framework to handle modern division.
That is so smart. They aren't saying, hey, listen to us preach. They're saying, here is a wrench and a screwdriver to fix the arguments happening in your classroom or your therapy practice.
It's highly practical.
And then the third ring is the bridge. These are faith communities and cross-cultural groups. The document notes that what they need is a bridge message, a way to communicate that respects their deeply held faith while actively reducing hostility toward outsiders.
So they can engage without compromising.
Right. So the master positioning statement wraps all of this up. It states that Humanity 2.0 is specifically for people who are tired of division but do not want to give up their identity. It promises a clear code of conduct, not just general peace slogans. It provides a sharp truth and a creative system that can be instantly recognized and applied.
But here's the challenge. If you are going to speak to these wildly diverse groups, from a Gen Z TikTok creator to a traditional faith leader to a clinical therapist, how you speak is just as important as what you say.
The tone has to be perfect.
Exactly. The tone must be perfectly calibrated. And the voice and language chart in this document is incredibly strict about that calibration.
It sets up 4 pillars of tone. First, it must be clear. It mandates short sentences, clear truth, and grounded human examples. It explicitly forbids the language from being overly complex, vague, or adopting a preachy academic tone.
Second, it must be brave. It must stand firmly against hate, racism, and injustice. But, and this is a very difficult tightrope to walk, it must do so without becoming blaming, degrading, or adopting the toxic tactics of the people it is opposing.
Third, it must be hopeful. But as we discussed with Rule of 5, not naive or overly sweet. It must maintain a sense of optimism while fully acknowledging the reality of human pain and struggle.
You can't just be blindly positive.
Right. And finally, the tone must be collaborative. The language should constantly use pronouns like we or all of us and emphasize that every person can choose differently. It explicitly warns against the language being centered on a single, savior-like figure.
To enforce this tone across every platform, they have established an approved messaging hierarchy. If you are a copywriter or a social media manager working for this brand, you cannot just make up your own slogans. You are restricted to a highly controlled vocabulary.
It is totally locked down. The approved phrases are literally listed out. You have the brand name, Humanity 2.0. You have the vision lines in Hebrew and English, and underneath we are all the same.
Then the supporting narrative line.
Yeah, one humanity, one heart, one peace, one future. The campaign hook, not an upgrade of technology, an upgrade of the heart. And finally, the direct call to action. See the person. Build a bridge. It is a masterclass in brand discipline.
It really is. But here's the reality of the digital age. You can have the perfect messaging hierarchy and the perfect behavioral code, but if you want people to trust you instantly as they are scrolling at light speed on social media, they have to feel the movement before they even read a single word of your carefully crafted copy.
Right, because nobody reads anymore.
Exactly. How do you engineer that instant subconscious trust?
You completely control the visual psychology. Which brings us to the visual identity and the strict design rules governing this brand. The logo system itself is designed to tell the entire story at a glance. It consists of the letter H integrated with a human profile, all contained within a sleek, futuristic circle.
Right.
The document explains that this specific combination symbolizes humanity, technology, and forward momentum. But honestly, it's not the logo itself that shocked me, it's the prohibitions. The list of things you are absolutely not allowed to do with this logo shows how fiercely they are protecting this aesthetic.
Brand integrity relies on absolute visual consistency. The moment a logo is altered, the subconscious trust of the viewer is slightly fractured.
And they enforce it like law. The rules state you cannot stretch the logo, you cannot rotate it, you cannot alter the specific color ratios. And this one was fascinating to me. You cannot add glowing halos or ethereal light effects to it.
And there's a very specific reason for that.
Why? Because glowing halos imply deification. They imply a religious cult or a savior complex, which completely violates the collaborative, grounded tone they're trying to set. And perhaps the most critical rule, you're strictly forbidden from mixing traditional religious symbols into the main logo.
It keeps it universal.
Plus, there is a spatial rule. There must be a safe breathing space around the logo that is exactly equal to the height of the letter H. Nothing can infringe on that space. It is locked down in a sterile environment.
It's like a visual hazmat suit.
Mhm.
They are protecting the core identity from contamination. But the psychological engineering reaches its peak when you look at the color palette. If we connect this to the bigger picture, colors evoke immediate, involuntary, subconscious emotional responses.
Oh, totally.
Corporations spend millions researching this. The brand book dictates a highly specific mathematical ratio for color usage to control that emotional response.
Let's break those down because I found the audacity of this section absolutely fascinating. They are trying to mathematically engineer empathy.
The dominant color, which is mandated to make up exactly 60% of the visual space in any design, is midnight navy. The specific hex code is #071A2F.
For those listening who aren't graphic designers, that is a very deep, rich, almost blackish blue.
Yes, and its assigned psychological role in the brand book is to provide background, authority, and depth. It grounds the entire brand. It is serious.
Right, they didn't go with a playful color.
Notice they didn't choose a frivolous, light sky blue. The deep navy subconsciously signals, we are dealing with weighty, serious human issues. We are an authority you can trust.
Then 30% of the visual space is dedicated to what they call future silver, along with stark white and a color they literally named human warmth, which is a soft cream color, with the hex code #F7F2E8. Think about the sheer corporate audacity of that. They attempted to quantify the concept of human warmth into a precise digital hex code.
It's brilliant, honestly.
But the document says these 30% colors provide cleanliness, a nod to the future, technology, and softness to contrast the heavy navy.
So immediately, you have the deep, serious, authoritative navy grounded by clean, futuristic, warm whites. That accounts for 90% of the visual identity. It is stable and mature.
And the rest?
The remaining 10% is strictly reserved for accents. They use humanity gold, which is hex, #C9A85C, or electric blue, hex, #4EA3D8. These represent hope, highlight, innovation, and digital movement.
The document has a very strict rule for how to use that 10% gold. It says humanity gold is a highlight like a spark in the dark. You do not use it for small text on a white background where it gets lost. It is meant to convey a feeling of relaxed luxury. I had to read that phrase twice. Relaxed luxury.
It feels a bit out of place, right?
And a manifesto for a spiritual movement. But it makes sense. They want the visuals to feel premium, expensive, and highly intentional. They want that wide breathing space. It's not a cluttered, chaotic, grassroots flyer stapled to a telephone pole. It is premium, calm authority.
It creates an environment where the viewer feels safe and respected. And these incredibly strict rules carry over directly into their photography and imagery guidelines as well.
Yes, there is a clear, unbending hierarchy for any photography used. Person first, world second, technology third. They explicitly ban the use of generic faceless crowds. You know those standard stock photos of just a blurry sea of people protesting or walking in a city? Banned.
Because a faceless crowd directly contradicts Rule 01 of the Humanity Code, person before label. A crowd is a label. A crowd is a demographic.
Oh, wow. You are completely right. It all connects back to the behavior code. The visual enforces the philosophy.
Exactly. The imagery guidelines demand real portraits with direct eye contact, showing authentic emotion and inherent human dignity. They instruct designers to show hands, listening, collaboration, and quiet acts of kindness, rather than loud propaganda or imagery depicting the triumph of one side over another.
And in the middle of these photography rules, there is a very specific, almost startling geographical mandate. They call it the Jerusalem rule.
This is a crucial detail that reveals the immense geopolitical self-awareness of the creators.
Yeah, explain this one.
The document dictates that in the global, universal format of Humanity 2.0, imagery of Jerusalem is not mandatory. It belongs specifically to the brand's origin story regarding the founder and Baba Shuvi.
Okay.
However, it states that if imagery of Jerusalem is used by a designer, the composition and the underlying message must be chosen with extreme conscious intent. It states explicitly that one cannot randomly swap images of the Western Wall, the Temple Mount, and the Dome of the Rock just because it looks visually pleasing.
Which is like treating history as a radioactive isotope. They know exactly how explosive those symbols are. Given how symbolically charged those specific holy sites are to billions of people, randomly throwing them into a graphic design without understanding the theological and political weight behind them would be a catastrophic disaster for a brand whose entire mission is building bridges.
Exactly.
It shows a hyper-awareness of the cultural landmines they are navigating.
It demands absolute precision in how roots, origins, and contested spaces are displayed. It ensures the brand doesn't accidentally stumble into an international geopolitical controversy just because a freelance graphic designer liked the lighting on a certain building in the background.
It's the hazmat suit again, protecting the core message from external contamination. So let's step back. We have the philosophy of the human update. We have the behavioral code demanding respect and accountability. We know exactly who they are targeting, the tone they're using, and the exact hex codes and visual rules they are applying. How does a machine this complex actually turn on? How does this roll out into the real world?
That's the real question.
This brings us to the rhythms of Humanity 2.0. The content, the music, and the 30-day launch plan.
The content system is brilliantly designed as a series of ongoing dialogues, not just static lectures. They have outlined 4 core content series, and each one is designed to answer a specific guiding human question.
Right. The first series is Before the Label, which answers the question, who is the person behind the definition? The focus of this content is highlighting shared humanity.
Very important.
The second series is The Heart Update, which asks, which human trait do we need to upgrade today? This focuses on internal psychological change. Third is One Human Story, asking, what story restores our trust in humanity, focusing on dignity and compassion? And finally, One Future, asking, what small act builds a shared future, focusing on peace and actionable responsibility?
And the delivery formats for these series are tailored to modern consumption habits. They range from highly shareable 20 to 45-second sharp videos, perfectly engineered for the algorithms of TikTok and Instagram Reels, to deeper 5 to 12-minute video or podcast explainers for the partner's ring.
Giving them those tools we talked about.
Exactly, all the way to actionable 7 or 30-day challenges that move the audience from passive inspiration to active behavior change.
They even have a designated sonic identity, the master sound. The brand book dictates that the official music of Humanity 2.0, likely produced by Layer 4, Messiah Ben David Records, should be cinematic electronic production, futuristic pop with strong male vocals sitting right around 100 beats per minute.
That tempo, 100 BPM, is a very deliberate psychological choice. It is a moderately upbeat tempo. It is often associated with a driving, steady, purposeful walking pace. It mirrors a slightly elevated human heartbeat. It is energetic, but it is not frantic or chaotic.
And they are incredibly strict about what the music isn't. The document explicitly states that heavy rap or fast, frantic dance music are strictly relegated to subversions or remixes. They are forbidden from being the main sound of the brand.
Again, we're seeing the control of the emotional temperature of the audience.
A driving cinematic pop song at 100 BPM makes you feel hopeful, resolute, and forward-moving. Heavy, aggressive rap or frantic 140 BPM dance music evokes entirely different emotions. Those genres induce adrenaline or aggression, which completely contradicts that relaxed luxury and calm authority we talked about earlier.
Every single sensory input is controlled to create a specific emotional state. And all of this preparation leads into their highly structured launch strategy. They don't just put the logo and the manifesto on the internet and hope for the best.
No, they have a whole funnel.
They have outlined a rigorous 5-week, 30-day rollout plan designed to walk the audience through a psychological funnel.
It is a literal software-as-a-service marketing funnel, but applied to a spiritual awakening. It's wild.
Right.
Walk us through the stages of this funnel.
In days 1 through 3, the goal is purely understanding. The audience needs to understand the massive concept in one simple sentence. This involves a highly produced reveal video, the repetition of the "not an upgrade of technology, an upgrade of the heart" messaging, and the release of a short, digestible manifesto.
Just getting the brand awareness out there. Then days 4 through 7 are about identifying, getting to know the founder and the source. This is where NathanOr's personal origin story is introduced, the connection to the spiritual root Baba Shuvia is carefully explained for those who want it, and the flagship Humanity 2.0 song is released to set the emotional tone.
Moving into week 2, the psychological goal shifts to seeing themselves. The audience needs to see their own lives, their own struggles, reflected in the message.
Making it personal.
Exactly. To achieve this, the brand releases 4 human stories, relatable quotes, and deploys the Before the Label content series to show real people overcoming division.
Then week 3 arrives, and this is the critical pivot, changing behavior. This is where the theoretical message turns into physical action. They introduce the 5 principles of the Humanity Code alongside a daily challenge. They are asking the user to actually test the software patch in their own life.
And finally, week 4 is dedicated to community building, hosting live digital sessions, Q&As with the founder, sharing user-generated content from the challenges, a grand recap video, and a formal call to join the movement long-term.
It's a complete journey.
Look at the cognitive behavioral science behind that structure. It moves the user seamlessly from passive awareness to identification, to personalization, to behavioral change, and finally, to community integration. It is habit-forming architecture.
So, what does this all mean? When you step back and look at the totality of this July 2026 document, NathanOr Bensby is attempting to launch a fundamental shift in human consciousness. He is trying to architect a movement of peace, truth, and unity in a world that is tearing itself apart.
But he's doing it with the exact same ruthless precision, the exact same formatting, and the exact same corporate toolkit vector SVGs, 16.9 safe zone templates, TikTok algorithm strategies, and strict color hex codes, as Apple launching the next generation of the iPhone.
It is the unprecedented marriage of ancient, desperate spiritual yearning with hypermodern corporate brand mechanics.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for you, our listeners, today. We spend so much of our time, energy, and money optimizing our devices, managing our apps, clearing our caches, and ensuring our technology is functioning at absolute peak efficiency.
But I want you to look at your own interactions this past week. Look at the text messages you've sent. Look at the comments you've left online. Think about the arguments you had either in your head or out loud with someone you love.
Which of the 5 humanity codes do you struggle with the most?
Exactly. Are you actually remembering to put the person before the label when you see a political post you hate? Are you prioritizing respect before victory when you argue, or do you just want to win?
It's tough to answer, honestly.
Are you furiously updating your tech, buying the latest screen, while letting your own human heart run on a fractured, outdated operating system that crashes and burns every single time it encounters someone who disagrees with you?
It is a profound, slightly uncomfortable mirror to hold up to ourselves. And analyzing this incredible document leaves us with a deep, lingering question. One that builds upon everything we've explored in the source material, but challenges the very premise of it.
Lay it on us.
The Humanity 2.0 brand book meticulously engineers a spiritual and cultural movement using the most rigid, calculated tools of corporate branding hex codes, typography rules, messaging hierarchies, and structured 30-day marketing funnels. But it raises a vital question. Can genuine organic human unity and deep, authentic spiritual connection truly be scaled through a highly controlled corporate branding system?
Oh, that's good.
Or does the rigid mathematical medium of a brand book fundamentally alter and sterilize the raw, messy, beautiful human nature of the message itself? Can you franchise the human soul?
Wow. Can you franchise the human soul? That is an incredible question to chew on today. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning everything, and maybe check and see if your own emotional operating system has a software update available. Until next time.